Have you ever imagined what a truly great One Piece game would be like? Traveling from island to island and exploring a vast, rich world full of beautiful landscapes, rich story, and riveting gameplay, all with your own created character. A game cultivated with the love, care, and AAA budget of games like Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, Red Dead 2, and many more. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Y'all saw the title of the video, so let's go over how I would make the perfect One Piece game. Alright, after the resounding success of Hogwarts Legacy, I truly believe Bandai Namco can emulate exactly what Porky Games did by making a Harry Potter open world RPG game and truly capturing the essence of its source material with One Piece. With One Piece being an IP on the same tier as Harry Potter worldwide, Bandai Namco is legit sitting on what I would like to call an infinite money glitch. Bandai Namco could not only create the greatest One Piece game of all time, nah, not that. They could not only create the greatest anime game of all time, nah, not even that. Them boys could legit create a top 10 video game of all time. That being said, a lot of what I have in mind will be a combination of things that I've personally experienced with Hogwarts Legacy and other games in conjunction with unique ideas that I've had for some time now. This video is going to be split up into 3 main parts: story, the world, and gameplay. Before I go into story, I would like to preface that again, this is a single player, open world RPG game with a created character in the same vein as Hogwarts Legacy. Part 1. Story. Alright, to start off with story, one can make a viable One Piece story with a created character as the main selling point in one of 3 ways. The story has to truly make you feel like your character makes sense to exist within the One Piece world. That being said, I'll start with least likely and then go to the most likely. This is the least likely story. This story could take place during an alternate timeline of One Piece, where you start your journey at the same time as Monkey D. Luffy. It was already explained to us in the Sabaody arc that there were a multitude of islands to get from the start of the Grand Line to the Sabaody Archipelago. So in this scenario, we as the created character, who I will now refer to as CC for the remainder of this video, can experience the One Piece story as we all know and love with slight deviations. Imagine finishing the main quest for one island, and a cutscene begins to play, with your CC getting their first bounty from the seagulls, and it's 50 million berries. You're all hype, and then your character flips the page, and then they see Monkey D. Luffy, 100 million berries, and Trafalgar Law with 80 million berries. This giving you a sense of actually being rivals with the characters we've grown to love, going throughout the Grand Line and eventually reaching Sabaody with our CC, we would be known as the 12th member of the Supernovas. The issue with this idea is definitely a lot of headcanon and what if scenarios would play a big part into making this alternate timeline work. And we've seen what One Piece games with non-canon alternate storylines give us. So you already know I'm definitely staying away from that, which is why I have this in least likely. This would be a more likely story. This story can take place years after the end of One Piece, a world where Monkey D. Luffy has already become the king of the pirates and has collapsed the world government, leading the world into a new era of freedom. Going through a story like this will give the developers free reign to truly create whatever story they want and it not impacting canon at all. From new overarching villains that would impact the world, as well as giving the CC a variety of opportunities to meet the characters that we already know, now older, impacting our CC and the story in a variety of ways. Imagine going on an island and meeting an older Zoro teaching you hockey or sword skills. The issue with this, however, is that to make something like this, you would need to make a lot of inferences on what the end of One Piece looks like, as well as the fact of how the world would even look. But with the freedom to create an overarching story, as well as bring back fan favorite characters in a variety of ways to impact the story for our CC, this is a scenario I could definitely see happening, at least more than the last. So I'll leave this scenario in more likely. Finally, this is the most likely story. This story would be in a similar vein to Hogwarts Legacy's approach, through and through. I say similar and not exact because Hogwarts Legacy takes place hundreds of years in the past, before Harry Potter is even born. And although we do have the capacity of doing so with One Piece's timeline, instead, this story will take place 22 years before the start of Luffy's journey. Yes, that means this story will take place during the height of the Great Pirate Era, immediately after the death of the King of the Pirates, Gol D. Roger. As you all know, during this time, thousands and thousands of pirate crews set out to sea in search of wealth, fame, and power, in search for the One Piece. RCC would fit directly within the story and would not only be able to visit original and unique islands made for the game, but also visit ones that the Straw Hats have as well, with a new view. The freedom to create new characters for the story would be unlimited as well. Think about going against rival pirate crews and marines, as well as encountering notable figures in the world at the time, like a prime Monkey D. Garp, Sengoku, or Whitebeard, as well as a younger Kaido, Big Mom, Mihawk, Shanks. The possibilities are truly endless. For all the reasons I've listed, this is the most likely story to use for a game of this magnitude, to truly make it shine. Part 2. The World. When it comes to open world RPGs, the world is the most valuable aspect that needs to be perfect. With the vast and expansive world building that One Piece has to offer, this wouldn't be too hard to do. In order to truly capture the beauty that is the world of One Piece, I would say the graphics need to look just as good as they are in Hogwarts Legacy. I believe that's a fair ask in my opinion, since this would be a AAA game made with the same care and budget as other games that we hold in high regard. As far as art direction goes, I would say if the game looks similar to, let's say, a Tales of Arise or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink with its anime focused cel shaded type art, that would be a perfect style for a One Piece game. Alright, it's time for me to come clean. I'm gonna say something y'all might not like. This whole time, I've been saying open world RPG, but I've been lying to y'all, man. This whole time, I tricked y'all. I have to keep it a buck with y'all. The way that I would truly envision to make the perfect One Piece game would be to make it an open zone game. Hold on. Relax, just wait, chill. Just hear me out real quick. After playing God of War Ragnarok, I've become way more open to the idea of a One Piece game with open zone instead of an open world. While there are many positives to how open worlds usually are, there are also many negatives, not even factoring open world fatigue. I know y'all remember before Elden Ring came out, so many people were complaining about open world fatigue. And after Elden Ring came out, I know y'all remember seeing those Elden Ring memes that was basically made to clown Ubisoft and other developers for how they usually make open world games. With the way that I envision this game, I can see multiple large open zone areas for each island that we traverse to, similar to how the 9 realms work in Ragnarok. I mean, think about it real quick. As you enter a new island, you could start on your ship along the coastline and steer it along the open waters, and when you finally dock, you can explore and engage with the island in many different facets before you even follow the main story request for the island. I imagine the world having at least 7 to 10 large open zone island areas with maybe like 5 to 10 more smaller zone areas that you could also explore. That is how I would create the world. Part 3. Gameplay. Another essential part of any game is obviously the gameplay, even more so when we talk about RPGs. Starting with character customization, when we create RCC, we should be able to customize every single facet of them. There are legit so many One Piece characters with unique, cool, and badass designs, and on the other hand, there are so many One Piece characters that legit lost the genetic lottery. I'm talking dog water designs. But that being said, we should be able to create our characters as perfect or as grotesque as we want. The only issue being that we would still be very limited height-wise, as even though there are characters with very tall heights that aren't even giants in the world of One Piece, we would still be very limited in that aspect, because this is still a single player game that would need to be set for cutscenes and our character would need to be in buildings. In my opinion, we should be able to make our CC one of these 4 races: human, fishman, mink, or Skypian/Shandian. Each race would have their own bonuses and special traits that would be utilized in-game, from fishmen being able to stay underwater without needing to rise up for air, or even getting stat increases while being in water, to minks exclusively having the electro fighting style and access to Sulong. Sadly, you won't be able to make your CC a giant or a dwarf due to the height restrictions that I explained earlier. Moving on from character customization, let's talk about combat. There are so many RPG games that have lackluster combat, where it seems you just aim your character and press the attack button. However, I would like to see a more fun and unique take on combat for this game, taking some inspiration from Tales of Arise, having a normal attack, heavy attack, and 3 special moves, alongside blocks, dodges, and parries that with enough skill, you can either competently go through the game feeling rewarded, or make those combat combo videos once you truly master the game. Combat should be varied for how you want to play the game. Class types will be the main component of combat, split into 3 variants: fighter, swordsman, and gunner. Do you want to make your CC like Luffy, Sanji, Garp, Lucci, or more? Then they would be a fighter type. Want to make your CC that will eviscerate their enemies with sword skill like Zoro, Cavendish, Odin, Mihawk, etc.? Then swordsman types will be the one for you. What about taking out enemies from a distance, using a diverse toolkit like Usopp, Izo, Wiper, Van Arger, and Yasuo? Then the gunner type would be fit for most. All 3 of these class types would have multiple different fighting styles within them, so you could truly make your pirate the way you want. Hockey would also be integral within this component, but we'll speak more on that later. Now, we could get into the real juice, so to speak: devil fruits. If you so choose to have your character consume a devil fruit, then you will be granted access to a vast selection of additional powers to utilize in combat, with the side effect of not being able to swim, obviously. From devil fruits that we've seen in the show, to new devil fruits created just for the game, your CC would be versatile while combat will be unique and fun for anyone who plays. I would say the same way Elden Ring has so many different types of powers and weapons to use, that's exactly how it should be for this game as well. If I had to decide, maybe around 15 devil fruits of each type, Paramecia, Zoan, and Logia, with maybe 3 from each group being a new creation just for the game. In total, that would be 45 devil fruits with 9 new ones to experience. Finally, getting into how Haki would be used. Observation, Armament, and Conqueror's Haki will enhance the already rich combat that is in the game and will have 4 levels of mastery: Novice, Apprentice, Expert, and Master. Observation Haki in combat, depending on your mastery, will affect how easy it will be to parry and dodge all incoming attacks, essentially widening the parry and dodge window in combat. While out of combat, it makes it easier to find items during exploration by enlarging the area you could use your detect skill to reveal items, like how Hogwarts Legacy uses Revelio. Armament Haki would increase your defense when applied in combat, as well as increasing the damage that you deal physically. Of course, Armament Haki would also give your CC the ability to touch and hurt Logia users. Lastly, Conqueror's Haki is something I know everyone would want to use, and I feel like I have a good idea for how it could be implemented in the game. Similar to how Hogwarts Legacy has the overpowered instant kill spell, they hold it until late game until the player can learn and use it. I would do the same with Conqueror's Haki. I would let it be something that would be alluded to throughout the story that our CC can use, but they only truly unlock it in the late game. Combat wise, I would say any enemy that are like 10 to 20 or more levels below the CC would be knocked out when they use Conqueror's Haki. As for advanced Conqueror's Haki, in order to use that skill, you would need to unlock it in the skill tree, but it would be locked until Armament and Conquerors are both at master level mastery. When you finally unlock it, it would be such an insane boost, you would essentially become a one-shot machine, just like Kaido was when he one-shotted Luffy when they first fought in Wano, or Big Mom when she did the same to Page 1. Now, the best part of playing any RPG is leveling up your character and upgrading them. The feeling of progressively getting stronger is the whole reason why people love these type of games. I believe having stat totals like Elden Ring and the Fallout series would be the best, but with my own little twist. Breaking down the stats, it would be Strength, Agility, Constitution, Intelligence, Perception, Talent, Willpower, Charisma, Luck. Strength affects the damage that you do physically. Agility affects combat speed with your attack and your dodge. Constitution affects your health and your defense. Intelligence affects the stat bonuses that you have with equipment. Perception increases your accuracy and damage with guns, as well as your critical percent. Talent affects your experience gain, as well as the speed in which you unlock skills. Willpower affects your resistance to Conqueror's Haki. Charisma affects your persuade and intimidate chances when talking to NPCs. And luck affects your gold increase. All the stats that you see in red would equal the level of armament Haki mastery. All the stats that you see in blue would equal your observation Haki mastery. And all the stats that you see in yellow would equal the level of Conqueror's Haki mastery. Let's move on to the skill tree, the staple of so many RPGs. However, ours will only be split up into 3 categories. As I've already explained in combat, you will have your class types in tandem with Haki and Devil Fruits, if you so choose to eat one, to survive in the Grand Line. The skill tree will represent these 3 as categories. Say your class type is Fighter. You can learn new special moves from the class type skill tree, as well as fighting styles. There is a caveat to this, however. Some specific styles will only show up after getting mentors to teach them to you. For example, let's say there's a character or part of the story that knows Roshiki, or the 6 powers, which is the fighting style that CP9, CP0, and certain Marines know. Once you finish the quests from that character, you will then unlock the Roshiki skills in your class type skill tree. The same will be for the Haki skill tree. The Devil Fruit skill tree works differently, in the sense that the more that you use your Devil Fruit, the more skills you will unlock, just like in Ragnarok. Real quick, I just want to take a moment to shout out y'all boys on Twitter.
Do you care though? Who?
We will be there.
PSG?
We will be there.
From the overwhelming support I got when I first brought up the idea of making a video, to even when I ran polls or gave updates, to even some of y'all DMing me about it, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, want to say I appreciate y'all. This video wouldn't have happened without you. Thank you. Finally, last but not least, traversal. Good traversal is imperative within a game. Spider-Man PS4 brought us the greatest web swinging in any Spider-Man game. I was able to get one of my friends, who really isn't a gamer like that, to play Spider-Man PS4, and he couldn't put it down, simply because it was just so fun. Spider-Man Miles Morales then pushes the envelope even further and makes web swinging the greatest it's ever been. This, alongside Hogwarts Legacy with its broom flying, is amazing as well in its own right. In order for us to truly feel like our CC is in the One Piece world, traversal needs to be on point. I would say ship traversal needs to feel quick, yet weighty depending on how big the ship is, and handle well. Characters that have pseudo flight, such as Logia users with the smoke fruit and the flame fruit, should feel almost weightless as they soar above the land. Or characters with Geppo or Skywalk should have momentum based physics that allow the CC to traverse the skies with ease. CC that are fishmen would be able to swim very fast in the sea, and will be able to get a very unique experience compared to the other races, since they would be able to explore the oceans surrounding the islands earlier in the game without mounts. Rideable mounts should 100% be in the game. This would basically be the component that allows everyone to experience all the different types of traversal without feeling forced to pick a race they might not have wanted. Some examples would be animals like Karu, Vivi's companion for land, the flying fish that Duval's group had for the sky, or any random assortment of large animals within the One Piece world that could be used to traverse both land and sky. The seas, on the other hand, would have mounts as well, like the whale sharks that Jinbei summoned to break out of Impel Down, or the super penguin that Kuzan has. Essentially, the developer could make any variety of mounts usable in the game for traversal, to make the game balanced, but most importantly, fun. We've gone over a variety of topics today, in effort to create the perfect One Piece game, from story, gameplay, and combat, to the world, art style, and traversal. These are just some of the most important things that I feel like should be touched upon to truly make this game something that One Piece fans deserve. Growing up playing the Dragon Ball Z Budokai and the Budokai Tenkaichi games, as alongside as the Naruto Storm games, were like peak childhood moments for me. And I know y'all just seen that announcement for a sequel to Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi. Now as I'm older, I realize there's a huge space in the gaming world for One Piece to truly make its presence known. For the #1 best-selling manga of all time, to never have a game that truly captures its essence is honestly a travesty. I definitely have more ideas to touch on, like DLC, a new game plus, a dynasty mode, and much more, but I didn't want to make this video an hour long. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, then just leave a like. I'm not even going to say subscribe, because if y'all want to subscribe, y'all gonna subscribe. Also, comment some ideas that you guys might have for your perfect One Piece game. If I like them enough, I'll include them in a part 2. That's it. See y'all.